that's we found a problem on is if you want to close a PO, you've created a PO, you maybe have used it a little bit, you decided now I want to close that PO and get my funds back in my budget. Within Workday, you drill off of that PO number and it opens up a little box. The first thing up top says cancel, close, printable version, this, that, and the other. There's about 4 or 5 options. Please do not select the close option. You choose close there. It may close the PO, but you do not get your funds back unless we go in, close the requisition, and go behind the scenes. So if you're intending to close a PO to get your funds back into your budget, you go off of that related action, make sure you close the PO. Unfortunately, within Workday, some things we can't manipulate. It'd be great if we could make that little cancel word go away, but we can't.
You mean, don't select the cancel.
Right, do
close.
not
You said
select
don't do
cancel.
close, not close.
Do not
That's why they all
select
look.
cancel, hit close for everything. So, any questions on that? If you're intending to close your PO, choose the close function, not cancel. And as Joe pointed out, and I'm sure my friend Pat, who's eager to get up out of her seat, if you're doing these requisitions, and as Joe pointed out, you've got your cost center, da-da-da-da-da, and those funds need to go down to the program/project level. Make sure when you're creating this requisition that you're adding those program and project work tags to it. Because if you don't, when you go into your requisition and open it up, it's going to give you your canned, here's who I am, bam, bam, bam. And if you don't go in and change these things or add these things, and it comes time to pay, then that'll tell you it's a problem because those programs and project work tags were not added up front. So if you are grants, whatever, or whatever you're buying is coming and going down to the program/project level, you must add those into the requisition from day one.
So when you sense it at the time. Any questions for Bobby?
Bobby, I'm going to ask one thing. I have to say, he's very good about sending out instructions on how to do POs and the changes that take place and what not to do. I appreciate that. But one thing is, like she was asking about the business cards, that process has changed. And so a couple of us got together and we found out where it was and we kind of shared that with a group of us. But can we send things like that out to everybody so everybody can get it? Because like, it is different now, so.
No, my hand has a red mark where it's been spanked numerous times.
So if there's
Is it on
something
the
you want to get out,
line?
Yes, when we find those things, we can send them out.
And it's not just your
So,
area.
right.
With all areas, including, I meant to say this too, Linda was up there, even with HR, if there's ways that we can, like the hiring process, if there's ways we have step 1, 2, 3, 4, what they need to do, like hiring an adjunct, yes, they need to do this step first, this step second. That would be great because we're kind of like, I know everybody is overwhelmed and confused and trying to learn the new process.
We're all learning together as we go along. But
Yeah.
I'll try to get something up and get
Yeah.
Alex Maxwell
If we can get
to send
some
it out
steps,
under the Workday
that would be
account.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And even like Linda was mentioning who does what in HR, and I know you said we could do help tickets. And that's great, but sometimes you have an immediate need that you need to get in touch with someone. So it would be nice to have a list of who does what so we know who to contact.
thank you.
I'm gonna be pretty easy, because y'all don't wanna hear from me anyway, I'm sure. I have some of my staff here. If y'all have any specific questions, or even my staff, y'all can come on down. Have anything in particular that we need to share that we've seen or realized that maybe people are missing, that they don't understand needs to be done? If we can cover those, and we can cover specific questions if you have some. Have Teresa McMillan, accounts payable. She is the one with you if you have any questions about supplier invoices, payments, vendor payments, as you remember. TJ, this P card, Anybody here on P cards? P cards, and Maria does travel and employee non-travel expense reports. So anything y'all wanna share first that we're having angst about or issues with processing that we continue to have?
Your supplier invoices that we, AP, have to create, which used to be on a disbursement request. They're still on a form. The difference in the form now is that we will need to have the spend category. We use the budget number, but I need your spend category on it. And of course, you know that we should not be creating those if they're more than $100. We should be setting up requisition PO in purchasing.
And as for suppliers, I mean external things, not employees. Well, one thing I want to talk about with P-cards, you all probably have seen this workflow and wonder why if it's travel related, it's also going to go to Maria. We've changed the business process for it to go to Maria first because she's looking at them for a different reason. She's looking for them for compliance with the travel statutes. TJ is looking for it to see that you have the proper documentation that supports the expense that is there. So it is going to both of them, but now it's going to Maria first because what we found was it went to TJ first. TJ looked at it for what he needed to look, and he would send it back or he would approve if you didn't have something to send it back. Then it comes back when it gets to Maria, where it's like, no, they don't qualify for this, this, and this. Now it needs to go back again. So I think that it makes the flow a little easier with it going to travel because if you're going to get it back, most of the time it's going to be because it's not in compliance with the statute. You know, just make sure that when you are scanning your receipts that they are readable. There's nothing I can do if it's not readable. I mean, I had somebody call and say, well, what do you want me to do? I just need a readable receipt. You know, you put them in your pocket, you should, you know, be mindful of that. Depending on the paper that the receipt is printed on, those numbers, that ink disappears. So there's nothing we can do, but we have to have a very readable receipt, even though it's scanned and not the paper document. P-card, please remember the dates.
I just raised my hand. I was gonna say, some people now take pictures of receipts.
Mm-hmm. You can do
And
that.
if they can print that, then that's readable, right?
You mean like from your phone?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a smartphone, but I've heard other people say when the receipt is real light, they'll take a picture right when they got it, and you can still
Sure.
read it.
Yeah.
So actually, I
Yes.
think we can talk to Karen about this. Within the app, the Workday app, you can take photos
Yes.
of receipts. The problem is I could not, it did not work for me to attach it. Like,
Okay.
So I'm not sure if there's a bug or it showed up.
I think
as
it
a mobile
is.
attachment. I just couldn't, it was there. It just kept saying must show, must have details or documentation. I'm like, it's right there. So
Yeah, I think
ended up
that was
having to
part of, because they were having some issues with Workday with the mobile app, period. And I
Because I
thought
take it
that
on my
was one of
phone
them.
as soon as I get it, I'm gonna take a
Yes,
picture.
okay. Yeah.
But
And that's good if they do it right then, but what we find is it's been in a pocket and it's been
Right.
rolled up and then
Right.
it's gone at that
Sure.
point. So at that point, you would have to go back to the supplier and request, you know, a duplicate receipt. But please remember, the date doesn't change for P-card. I mean, the process is all electronic. Sometimes we say that's good. Sometimes it's not as good because it seems to take longer because people need to remember to go in and actually approve as opposed to a piece of paper that they just, you know, sign. And so we're having difficulties with receiving P-card information timely, and we struggle really badly because Bank of America does not care that we have a new system. They want their payment when it's due.
Yeah, I was gonna say, basically, the main thing is the business process of getting the P cards in timely, because I believe once some people are finished creating their expense report and they think that's just it, that okay, it's going to my cost center manager, so it's up to my cost center manager to approve it, whereas they would need to stay on the cost center manager to make sure that she's or he is approving it on time so we can make our payment deadline. But that's it.
Anything traveling or?
The only thing, issue that I have been having with travel and having to send them back to, the employee is the format of how Workday, we set it up in Workday for the departure date and time and the return date and time. A lot of times it's not there, I'll send it back for that reason, but then when it comes back, now I have to send it back again because the meals don't coincide with the times and dates that you said that you went on your travel. So it's very, very, very important that you take the time and make sure that you put that in your memo field, the date and time of departure and the date and time of return. Another thing is the prepaid registration. Please make sure that you go into Workday and see if the vendor is in there prior to setting up your spend authorization for that prepaid registration. Because what will happen is that it will come to me to create that supplier invoice, but at that time that vendor is not in our system. Therefore, it will delay it quite some time because now I'll have to contact you and then you'll have to contact the vendor to get the vendor to go ahead and fill the the online application out. So if you're wanting that early bird price, you gotta remember, we have to get all that set up prior to me paying, well, the business office paying out that prepaid registration. So if we can just keep that in mind, and I think that was the only thing in travel.
The other thing with prepaid, I know we had this early on where people would say prepaid because they came with a P card. Yeah, it's not prepaid. If you say prepaid, that means you need us to prepay the vendor. Yeah, that causes issues. That's not called a prepaid. If you are actually paying it, the prepaid is only if you need TCC to pay that supplier before you go on that trip.
I do have one other thing that I need to say, that the process has truly changed. Normally we would get an invoice perhaps that you sent over to the business office, already signed with your signature for approval and your purchase order on it. Well, now when I put it in Workday, even though you've done all that, it's gonna come back to whoever the cost center is for them to look at that invoice and then approve it and send it back to me so that I can settle it at the end of the day. So it has changed. I've got a few phone calls saying that I already approved it. What do you want me to do? Another issue is that I do not have any control over how every your department has been set up to who gets what. Whoever the cost center is, if it's something that you're supposed to be approving or looking at, then that's between you and the department. All I do is put it in the system, it goes to wherever it's supposed to go to, and I'm just waiting on the approval.
Any questions?
To piggyback off of what Ms. Teresa said, that may be something we put into the blog as well, because I've gotten calls about the same thing, that people don't understand. Like, I think something came from PD. One person was doing it before an interim, and now they're not in that loop anymore because they're not the cost center. So people don't understand that, so it's really something that we need to express across the campus.
Let's add one more thing to that then. Let's explain to them how they can go and delegate responsibility for spend authorizations and settlement, because delegate, well, aside from delegate your inbox, I believe you can delegate that process to someone else. So for me, I've delegated it to 2 people in my office, so I'm not the only one who can do approvals for payment or approving spend authorizations or expense reports or whatever. I've delegated that to a couple of other people. And the nice thing is when it comes in, any one of the 3 of us can get to it, and I keep a copy in my inbox, so I always know, yeah, Matt approved this or Vanessa approved this. So we should probably include in the blog some language on where to go to actually do the delegation.
Have we opened up that approval? Yeah.
I don't think so. We done the alternate approval?
It's on certain business processes.
So there is a way where people can on the fly through the business process. If I get it and I go, you know what, I need Mr. Gibby to look at this before I say yes, even though he's not in the business process, if the BP allows it, I can kick it off to him, he can approve it, it comes right back to me, and then it goes on its way, so you can have another set of eyes look at it. But that's a business process by business process feature, right? Have we turned it on this side?
It's in Bobby's area, he turned it on to one of our positions.
Okay, so if there's others where we want to be able to do that, we just have to let Karen know, we can add it to.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. How do we resolve, well, this is kind of a question for, you guys. Have we resolved, where a person is delegated for in the managerial, status, and they're also delegated a task for someone else? They do a spend authorization, let's say for Teresa, but then
We just have to know,
The
there's
manager.
nothing in the system that's going to be able to identify that, that's a control issue, a segregation of duties issue.
Okay.
But we just need to be mindful that if you see that person was the one that initiated and that person was the one that approved, then you
So-
bring it to my attention so we can figure it out.
Many of the one things I've been getting, if that's happened, it automatically gets sent to an alternate approver. Because many of the business
That's not
processes,
delegation though,
that's true,
yes.
right?
These are delegation
Right.
issues. And I've only seen one, and I addressed that one, but,
So it's not a
Because I had
big
to
issue.
send it back to Sean Couch for that reason,
Right.
because he was
yeah.
initiating and approving, so, yeah.
Because he's been delegated so
Yes.
much.
So he can initiate it on someone and then approve it as somebody clever.
Well, because I look at
Right.
the actual processes and I saw, like, how can, and,
That makes
And
sense.
that's the only one I've seen.
Yep.
Because he's been delegated. from
yeah, no one else has,
everywhere.
yeah.
Okay,
Any other questions?
all right.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Alright.
sorry we ran a little long. I just want to reemphasize something that George was talking about earlier, the importance of help desk tickets. They really do help us make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, and we know exactly who it's assigned to, and, a day-by-day status, and then if it's overdue, the system automatically generates reminders, so that there isn't anything where it's, oh, I thought you were working on that, oh, no, I thought you were working on it, that kind of thing. So, of course, you can call somebody, but a lot of times they're gonna say, please fill out a help desk ticket as well, just so that we can keep track of that. And Bobby,
Yeah, I know we did a lot of training leading up to today, but also get with the leads, Linda and Joe and Bobby and Pat, if you guys want to do some additional training. We're probably going to go away from the TPP classroom training, but if there is a need or desire, we can start that up again. But if you want some one-on-one FaceTime, just contact the leads and they'll come to you guys.
And last thing, for all of you and for folks who are going to watch the tape, if you go and sign up for the Workday community, all the documentation, all of the steps for everything, way more information than you're ever going to want to know is available in community. So if you want to know how to do something, you want to follow the steps, you can go there and search, see the actual Workday manuals, see what other people have said, questions and problems. That's the place we go to look for help and information. But many of the business processes that you do, if you want to know, well, how does this work? How do I do a spend authorization? Although they're not TCC specific, much of what we implemented isn't TCC specific, right? It's Workday general, we're using it here. So that's always available to you to get information and documentation of how things work.
And Brad, for travel, I have created, a actual little packet that's, geared for TCC,
Oh, okay.
step by step. I sent it to, Matt, it's been approved by
Posted?
Pat, and I sent it to Matt, so.
So it'll be
I have it
on
for
our-
student travel as well as the regular travel.
So put it on our internal, we'll put it on the TCC, the Workday training site, up online. So if you go, again, if you go to quick links, there's a link for Workday, then right next to it is training. If you click on training, we'll put it up there. Wonderful. Yeah, so we don't want this to be a surprise for anybody. If anybody has any suggestions on documentation that you could use, we're loath to write a lot of TCC specific stuff because Workday changes twice a year, and we only would end up changing it twice a year. We'd rather have them do it. But if there's training, as Bobby said, or help sheets that we could do to make lives easier, just ask. We're not trying to make this a game for people to learn how to do things in Workday. So we want to get you the information you need so that you can be productive. The goal is, once we learn all this, we'll be more productive because in the end, this will save the college a lot of time and give people a lot more information and control. I know it doesn't seem like that. We got it. Thanks for taking your time.
Thank you.